rapture now.
I want to move it, how do I move it? Okay. All right, after all this. All right, never mind. After all the following in this presentation, I was a bit nervous here, but I'll get to it. The Dutch have 6 colonies in the West Indies. You have the ABC Islands, Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, and then they have 3 little islands, the S Islands, Saba, St. Martin, and St. Eustatius. Now, when my family left Holland in 1949, we moved to the little island of St. Eustatius. And that's a story in itself, which I'll do a presentation on another time. St. Eustatius is about 12 square miles, and it had a population back then, when we got there in 1949, of 850 people. Back in the 1600s, this little island had 20,000 people. Most of them were, more than half were slaves. In the 1600s, it was considered it was called the Golden Rock. You wonder why. It was the center of commerce, basically, in North America. And there's really nothing there now when we moved there. Now, the short form for St. Eustatius is Statia and the Golden Rock. It's probably one of the most historic spots in North America, and being a historical society here, it's sort of interesting. It was the free port of the world. It supplied the small arms and ammunition for George Washington's army. If this island wasn't there, maybe North America would be considerably different to what it is now. What else was it? It was the first foreign power to recognize the US flag as we know it today. And when the Andre Doria saluted an American war vessel, Admiral Rodney, through Britain, destroyed the island for the simple fact that they saluted the American flag. And they ruined the island. But one of the big things was the island was also part of the slave trade in North America, one of the main centers. It was also one, a lot of us have seen the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. It was one of the pirate centers. This island changed flags 17 times in its history. Now, where am I going with this? Slave trade. The Dutch going to Africa to pick up the slaves. Slaves, and as you know, a sailing vessel, June talked about the sailing vessel. Sailing vessel, you need ballast. Slaves don't make good ballast. So, when the sailing vessel left to Holland to go to South Africa, they would build a platform out of handmade Dutch bricks. Like this. They make a level platform, and it would be an instant ballast for the boat, and there would be stuff put on it for commerce. South Africa, slaves on top of the level platform, off to St. Statia, unload the slaves, and unload these bricks. And they would build their buildings out of it. For example, there is, and show me the next picture, I'll show you this one. Or can we come back to that one later?
Which way do you want to go?
Keep going up.
You want to go up or down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Down. No, the other way, I'm sorry. No, the other way.
Yeah, that's what I...
No, the other way. Okay, the other way. Keep going. Okay. No, keep one more. No, keep going for a bit. Yes. And it's a bit debatable whether this was the first or the second synagogue built in the Western Hemisphere. and that was built in St. Eustatius in 1739, and they're all made, as you can see, out of these handmade Dutch brick. Now, if you go back again the other way, Don, where we had those beads. Okay, hold it there for a minute. I'm sorry?
No, we can't.
Don't worry about it.
We can't, because
I'll explain it.
they're on this phone the wrong way.
Don't worry about it. Now, the slaves on Statia used blue beads for both decorative and monetary purposes. These blue beads came from Europe. They were made in Genoa or they were made in Holland. And I've got some of them here. When Ann and I were at St. Eustatius, we combed after a real bad storm. You would get stuff washed up on the beach. That's where I found this brick. You can tell this brick has been washed around. And I'd like to think that it probably came from a vessel that Rodney sank. And the other thing was, these blue beads, they're called either slave beads or they're called blue beads. They're only found in Statia. Don't ask me why. I have a feeling that a vessel went down with a large container of these blue beads, and whenever there's a bad storm, they wash up on shore. And I've got bits and pieces here that you can have a look at that Ann and I found on the beach, and I've got some complete ones there that you can have a look at. Now these particular blue beads, we were talking about inflation a little earlier, I forget how many marks there was. 30 of these blue beads bought Manhattan. So that's inflation also, I would say. You know, 30 of these blue beads that I actually have there bought Manhattan. Now if you slide that this way down.
Just go, okay, we'll see. Do you want to go this way?
Yeah. The other thing that Ann and I found on the beach, we've had a number of visitors with our kids, and Ann and I, we've been back and forth. And I obviously, when we moved there as a family, I grew up there. I went to school there and whatever. But if you have a look here, see the pipe there? I've got one here that we found on the beach. These pipes were used, they were small clay pipes, and the slaves used these pipes also. And so these were all part of the slave things that I found myself on the beach in St. Eustatius. Like I said, over the years that we visited back and forth. Now, the beach, take it down
Up or down?
down this way.
That one?
Right.
The other way?
Again, unfortunately, it's the wrong way.
Okay, well,
But-
we'll go the other way.
No,
That's
right
right.
beach. Go take it
Say
back.
the picture sideways. Right, no, back to the beach, back to the beach.
Back to that beach with the palm trees. Okay, there's the bits and pieces of the blue beads that I have here. There's about 10 pieces there, and they would wash up after a heavy storm on heavy seas. There's a complete bead, and there's bits and pieces there of the blue beads. And like I said, they're only found on the island of Statia. There's no place else where they found them. In Africa they've got them, and so on, but not in the Western Hemisphere. Take another picture down and there's a picture of the brick again. You see how the brick is sort of rounded out from water erosion and whatever. Okay, keep going down. Now, here's the blue beads themselves, the complete one. Now, this is something different. The slaves, this is actually it's called a horse eye. And they washed up on the Atlantic side of the island. It is actually a seed that could be polished. I took it to a guy that was a bit handy with wiring. He made me a pendant with the blue bead and the horse eye and what have you that I can use as a pendant. But the horse eyes were also used by the slaves for decorative purposes. Keep going down. Okay, here you can see the blue beads again. They were 6 or 8 sided. They're almost like chunks of crayon is what they actually look like. But supposedly that's the blue bead. There was 30 of those that were used for to buy Manhattan. Okay, keep going. There's the pipe. Okay, take it one more. Okay, go ahead. You know him. But, okay, go the other way now. Go the other way. The way we came.
Okay, just a minute.
Keep going. Go on. Keep going. Okay, more. Blue beads there. Okay, there's that synagogue again. And there's the blue beads, like I said, the bits and pieces there too. They're part, that's in the museum at Statia where those are shown. Keep going one more. There's the pipe, keep going. Okay, this is the beach basically where we found the bits and pieces, and it's aptly named Gallows Bay. Don't ask me why, but the bay is called Gallows Bay. What's the next picture? Okay, that in a quick talk is what I was presenting here. Now, I have numerous books on Statia and the interest in Statia. The history of the island, like I said, is mind-boggling, and a lot of people don't realize that little 12 square miles, the importance in North America over the years. And that's it.
Peter?
One more before I forget. Like I said, I have a number of books in here. We call it the Golden Rod Station. But like I said, my family moved there in '49. We were there for a number of years. And this is a Dutch geography book that's used in the islands. It's got my picture in it. So that, in fact, it's got a picture of my whole family in it. My mom and dad, my brothers and sisters, and my brother and I working in the fields on the island of St. Eustatius, Statia, and that's part of the Caribbean Dutch West Indies geography book. And I think it was grade 4, but I'm not sure. But just as a matter of interest.
Peter, you and John, you and your family were the first of the only white people on the island.
Yeah, well, basically I was, at the time, our family, we had a few other white folks on the island, but our family were basically the only white family with kids at school. I was the only, my brother and I and my sister, we were the only white kids at school, right?
You were in the minority.
We were in the minority. And I remember going skinny dipping one time, and a little black fella was saying, he said, "My God, he's white all over." That was a total surprise. The native peoples there, because it's a Dutch island, the education in school was all in Dutch. And it's really strange to have a big black gentleman come up to you and speak to you in fluent Dutch. You know, that really hits you. But because they were Dutch islands. And there was 2 or 3 other white people, families there, but they had no children. We were the only at the time there. But the fact of us emigrating there and living there, that's a story in itself. I could put a book together on that. But I thought I'd show the interest in the brick, the synagogue part, and the blue beads, because of the fact that they're Statia blue beads, or they're called slave beads too, right?
And where did you go for grade 7?
Oh yeah, but that's another story. I went to St. Martin for high school, and a lot of people would know where St. Martin, you know, it's a tourist area. St. Eustatius had very little tourism because tourists don't like black beaches. St. Eustatius is a volcanic island, and the beaches are black, and can you ever get cooked on a black beach? And then we have the little island of Saba, which is basically 3 miles diameter. And I met women on Saba that had lived there all their lives and had never been into salt water. The reason being it came out of the water like a volcano, down, flat area, aptly named the bottom is where the town was, and it was 400 stairs up to get up to the top, 800 and some stairs to get down to the water, and there was nothing there. So they said, why go? And St. Martin, of course, were all white beaches, and that's why it's a tourist attraction, it is. And they're all sight with each other. And I used to go to high school at St. Martin on a schooner called the Blue Peter, which is similar to the Canadian Blue Nose, and hence my love for the Blue Nose. Thanks.
Okay.
Peter, one minute. I got a question, Peter.
Question.
You were talking about Manhattan being bought by 20 Blue Beach. What's the story behind that?
Well, the Dutch, at that time it was called New Amsterdam, Manhattan. New York was New Amsterdam. And the settlers bought Manhattan from the indigenous people for 30 blue beads.
Thought they did.
Really, isn't it?
Yeah, they thought they bought it and the
Well, yeah.
indigenous people just thought
Yeah.
whatever, but
But if you
didn't
read the,
realize they were
if you
giving
read
it
the
up.
history book, they traded Manhattan
Yeah.
for 30 blue beads.
So was it Dutch Manhattan then?
Yes, New York at one time was Dutch, yeah. Well, that's what it was, New Amsterdam first, which was, was Dutch, and I'm not really sure at the date when it was changed.
Okay, thanks, Peter.